On your right, it's Lands versus Grixis Control here from New Jersey. A ponder is where we're going to start things off here, as Alex will fall down to 19, search up an Underground Sea. And if you're Josh, you might not know what you're playing against, but when you see a fetch land for a blue non-basic into a ponder when you're playing lands, you are happy.
Yeah, the only fear here is that Storm, which is not a very good matchup for lands, to say the least. But assuming your opponent's playing any sort of Delver strategy or any control deck, you are thrilled with this opening. Ravitz, of course, a long-time New Jersey Magic player. Very good Pro Tour and Grand Prix results to his name. His first PTQ, I believe he said, was Mirage Block Sealed. So he goes way back.
That is a pretty long time ago. Here's an Exploration. Now, if you're Alex, you are probably not thrilled with what you've seen on the other side of the table here. Taiga in the Exploration means you're only playing against one deck.
Yep, this is bad news.
Here's a Grove of the Burn Willows, and Ravitz will pass the turn back. Does have crop rotation at the ready. Bianchi has drawn a copy of Cabal Therapy. This match, you're not going to see a lot of creatures, a lot of attacking. Bianchi's going to go with a Cabal Therapy. We'll get confirmation on what that's naming here in just a moment. Players going to be playing mostly in their hand. And then Ravitz, of course, just wants to set up a lot of land destruction and then work its way towards that 2020.
The problem here is that there's not really great cards for Bianchi to name. You don't want to put Loam in the graveyard at this stage. You don't want Ravitz to just dredge. And everything else kind of recurs or has low impact. So it looks like Punishing Fire was the name, but not a big concern here for Ravitz.
Yeah, Ravitz probably doesn't even mind very much. Has Grove of the Burn Willows to just be able to return it right away, so not the end of the world. Crop rotation was another option there for Bianchi. He'll sacrifice a Polluted Delta, go a little bit lower here. Another Underground Sea here for Alex.
And if your opponent named Punishing Fire with a Cabal Therapy, they're probably not playing Storm. So yeah. Ravitz has got to be happy with his position in this game. Even though it looked like he mulliganed and he doesn't have a whole lot going on.
Here's another Cabal Therapy. We'll see if Josh wants to cast this copy of Crop Rotation. It's certainly not free. He could be playing against a card like Daze or Force of Will, stuff like that. The rest of his hand, nothing too special. Thespian Stage or Shodden Port.
Yeah, with Thespian Stage in hand, I suppose there is an argument to crop rotate for Dark Depths. You have a Rashadan Port plus a land left over, so you can tie up his mana a little bit.
Ravitz just trying to figure out what land he wants to sacrifice to the crop rotation. He's going to sacrifice the Taiga. He'll be giving Bianchi a life to be able to do that.
The other option here is Ravitz can crop rotate here for Wasteland, and then he has Wasteland plus Port for next turn, and a lot of time.
It is interesting. You could just go for the depths, as you mentioned, play 2 lands next turn, actually be able to stage depths on the very next turn.
Yep.
So we might just see him go for the Turbo 2020, but he's going to go with Wasteland, maybe play a little more safe.
I think with Bianchi already having played 2 copies of Cabal Therapy, if you tag his 2 lands, he just doesn't have a lot of resources to work with. You don't know what's going on in his hand necessarily, but there just isn't a whole lot for him to go. You know, he loses both of his lands. If he's got lands to recover, it means he doesn't have a whole lot of spells. And Ravitz, again, has a lot of time here. This is a slightly more conservative route, but I prefer this to trying to just jam a 2020 into play.
Sure. The draw step here for Ravitz is another copy of Crop Rotation. Rashadan Port's land number 1. Thespian Sage is land number 2. Josh going to fire off a Wasteland, take care of an Underground Sea. And now we'll see him pass the turn back. On the upkeep, Rashadan Port activation. That'll tap the Underground Sea. We're going to head back Alex's way. Volcanic Island wants to draw. Also has a basic mountain in hand. Quite a few basics in the deck here for Alex. 2 islands, a swamp, and a mountain this weekend.
Not surprising to see an uptick here of basics in people's lists with lands winning the event and with what kind of performance Sultai decks had. I would expect to see a big uptick this weekend in Wastelands and Blood Moons, and I think people, if they can afford to squeeze a couple basics into their control lists, are going to be more inclined to do that now than maybe 2 months ago.
Ravitz did return Punishing Fire from his graveyard. The draw for the turn was Punishing Fire. And now he'll activate Rashadan Port again, figuring out what land he wants to tap, and he'll go with the Underground Sea. Baleful Strix the draw here for Alex. You can see he's actually got a new card in his hand. Looks like a Painful Truths in his main deck. That one picking up a little bit of steam in Legacy.
I know. Chapin gave it a glowing review after playing with it at Grand Prix Seattle.
It's a mountain, and we're going to head back Ravitz's way. He's drawn another copy for Schadenport. He'll deploy the port. Simply pass the turn back. We're going to have a double port activation here by Josh. He'll start with Underground Sea, and he'll just wait. Thought we might get 2 activations there. Just going to continue to cut Bianchi off of black mana.
There's nothing really threatening that Bianchi can do with the mana that he has in play. I guess the only risk that Ravitz is really taking there is if Bianchi goes 3rd mana, which is also blue, True Name Nemesis.
Sure.
That's a bit of a risk right now. But I think Ravitz also wants to have the option of just using the Punishing Fire to take care of something like Baleful Strix or Young Pyromancer should Bianchi put it on the table.
Scalding Tarn the draw here for Alex. He'll play that Tarn. He'll sacrifice it, fall a little bit lower. I'm gonna find an Underground Sea. So access to black mana this turn. Could see Painful Truths be cast.
Bianchi doesn't get a whole lot out of playing any creature in his hand. He knows it's just going to die.
Yep.
So drawing 3 here seems fine.
At the cost of 3 life, but he's got plenty of life to work with, especially in this matchup.
And the incorporation of Painful Truths into a variety of Legacy decks sort of indicates just how busted Treasure Cruise was. People are paying 3 mana and 3 life and making a pretty big deck building cost to be able to draw 3. Before, people were just doing it for a blue.
Ravitz thinking about casting a Punishing Fire here. Yeah, I think it's probably better that the old Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time are probably not with us anymore.
I'm not trying to make that sort of judgment necessarily. I'm just saying, if Painful Truths is in people's decks, Treasure Cruise was busted.
Yeah. Gamble the draw here for Josh.
That's a pretty big pickup here for Ravitz because we're kind of hitting a point now where Bianchi can break out of the 2 Rishadan ports, and if the game is stable and Bianchi can get Jace the Mind Sculptor on the table, suddenly Bianchi pulls ahead. Ravitz getting Loam here while nothing much is going on, then he can start really getting some velocity here, getting more lands into play, start becoming very disruptive on Bianchi's lands, and then it doesn't really matter all that much what Bianchi draws.
Loam is what Josh did search for. Keep in mind as you take a look at Josh's mana base, 2 ports and a Thespian Sage out there, so a lot of colorless land.
Yep. He does have the option of using Thespian Sage to copy his own Grove if he's looking for more green mana, but that's a very slow way to do it. And right now, Ravitz is prioritizing using Rishadan Port on Bianchi's lands.
There goes crop rotation. It's funny, too. Sometimes you'll see games when lands does play where it's just a little slow out of the gate here. Like, this isn't Ravitz's fastest start. It can be very explosive, but also he's just drawn a lot of spells this game.
Yeah.
Has not actually drawn a lot of lands.
And
Yeah.
that's not too uncommon in the hands that don't draw Loam. Often you're kind of all set up and no real way to go unless you happen to draw Thespian Sage and Dark Depths together.
Here's Josh's hand. Crop rotation, Punishing Fire, and that Life and Loam that he did gamble for. Bianchi will see those thanks to the Gataxian Probe.
I think Bianchi really on the hunt for land number 4 there to be able to play Jace the Mind Sculptor. Looks like he missed.
Yeah, Jace would be a way for him to turn the tide on the game. Looks like he might be going to Young Pyromancer now. Also has the option of Baleful Strix. He's going to go to the Pyromancer. Now here's a Brainstorm. That'll trigger the Pyromancer. A 1/1 Red Elemental will be coming. And now 3 cards here from Brainstorm. 2, of course, will be going back. Scalding Tarn among them, as well as Snapcaster Mage. So shortly here, Bianchi will have to put 2 back, and he's got 2 nice choices there in Innocent Blood and Toxic Deluge. Those are pretty easy to put back. Cabal Therapy looks like it's going to be flashed back here. Sacrifice the token to make a new token, assuming that he does sequences things correctly as he does.
I think this has to be crop rotation. It's the only card that once Bianchi gets it into the graveyard is actually gone.
Yep.
Getting rid of the Punishing Fire of the Loam doesn't really do anything.
He's going to do it again, and he'll take care of Punishing Fire. It's going to bottleneck Josh a little because you take a look at his mana.
Yeah.
It's a it's kind of a freebie. Cabal Therapy is certainly not going to get much better than that. Back over to Ravitz we go. Life from the Loam in hand. Take a draw step. Riftstone Portal.
It's a one of.
Don't want that one in the grip. Want that one in the graveyard. Josh is going to start by playing Life from the Loam. He'll get to return a Taiga and a Wasteland. So 3 lands in hand here. He'll play Wasteland. Now he'll play Taiga. And he's going to go wasting. Take care of Underground Sea. Clearly looking to cut the black mana.
Yep. Though this clock here from Bianchi might be a little bit faster than what Ravitz can handle. I think we're going to see an end-of-turn lightning bolt here from Bianchi. That's going to knock Ravitz down to 17. It's going to put another token in play with Young Pyromancer. And Tack gets Ravitz down to 13. We know Bianchi's hand is just nothing but spells. He's been missing land drops for a little while.
Ravitz is going to get a move on. Like I said, it's been kind of a slow plodding start for him. He did come out of the gates with an Exploration and a Wasteland and all that good stuff, but outside of that, it's been a little slow and plodding.
Yep. And now, he's kind of got to make the decision between loaming or casting Punishing Fire each turn. Also, now that Young Pyromancer has been in play for a couple turns, even if Ravitz decides to spend a little bit of time getting it off the table, there's still a bunch of tokens left over.
Yep. There's a probe. Show you that Riftstone Portal. Bianchi down to 12. Now, his life total can matter a little bit here in regards to Punishing Fire, maybe firing away, stuff like that. But right now, I think if Josh were to go the Punishing Fire route, he'd have to shoot down those tokens.
Yes. I mean, Ravitz is firmly on the defensive right now, so I think Bianchi can be pretty aggressive using his life total here. Try to be as flexible with the spells in hand as possible.
Here come the beatdowns for 4. Looks like Ravitz is going to fall down to 13. You see Alex's hand. There's a Baleful Strix, Brainstorm over there, Snapcaster Mage as well. I think Snapcaster plus Lightning Bolt could be of interest here for Alex. He's going to take a look at his graveyard. Get an idea of what he's working with. Looks like it will be Snapcaster Mage. Maybe. The Grand Prix Pittsburgh champion, a little unsure. He's going to start with a Brainstorm. That'll trigger the Young Pyromancer. 3 cards coming. 2 will have to go back. A Polluted Delta, a Ponder, and an Island were the draws here for Alex. Land's never bad.
I believe the reason to Brainstorm here first is that if Bianchi finds a land, which he has, Snapcaster plus Bolt is lethal next turn, and I think he was short if he just played Snapcaster plus Bolt untapped and intact. I think he needed the extra token.
And he's also found a copy of Kolagon's Command there as well. Gonna play a Polluted Delta. You have to assume there's a land to find with that. Now pass the turn back over to Ravitz. Ravitz, gonna dredge Life from the Loam. Doesn't have much of a choice. 1 is a Verdant Catacombs, 2 is a Mox Diamond, 3 is a Life from the Loam. None of that stuff is too relevant at this point.
Yeah, the card that would be very helpful here for Ravitz is the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good answer, Young Pyromancer.
At this point, Punishing Fire, shooting down those tokens, Young Pyromancer, much too slow.
Yep. Also why it was critical for Bianchi a couple turns ago to therapy the crop rotation out of Ravitz's hand.
Yep.
Because if that gets Tabernacle, Bianchi's clock is substantially slower.
And heck, even therapying that Punishing Fire, which looks a little bit weird on the surface, it was a free therapy.
Yep.
It's not going to be able to do anything else. And, for Ravitz to actually rebuy that and cast it again with his colored mana situation, perfectly reasonable play.
It's a significant investment for him at this point to get that off the table.
Verdant Catacombs and Wasteland going to go back to the grip. Remember, Ravitz does have the opportunity to play 2 lands here thanks to the exploration that's on the battlefield. Wasteland appears to be land number 1. Verdant Catacombs will be land number 2. Wasteland's going to be going somewhere here in just a moment for Josh, it appears. Going to sacrifice a Verdant Catacombs here, will Josh. He's going to fall down to 12. Every life does matter at this point. Going to go find himself a Taiga.
Now I believe Snapcaster plus Bolt is lethal on the table.
Yep.
because Snapcaster plus Bolt is worth 6 points effectively. The token, the Bolt, the Snapcaster Mage. And there's 6 points of damage on the table, and Ravitz is at 12.
Josh going to return Punishing Fire. He'll give Alex a life. And now he will cast Punishing Fire, go after Young Pyromancer. There will be a response here from Alex. He'll sacrifice Fluted Delta very quickly. Get himself a basic Swamp, maybe. Yes.
Yes, he can still Snapcaster plus Bolt off the lands he has in play.
So here is Snapcaster Mage. Well, Lightning Bolt is the weapon of choice. That's going to go upstairs. Ravitz is going to fall down to 9. Elemental will join the party, and then Punishing Fire likely to resolve to take care of Young Pyromancer. So it looks like with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Joshua will get another turn. Well, I guess Kolaghan's command in hand.
Yeah, from Ravitz's perspective, it looks like he gets another turn.
Yep.
If Bianchi has Kolaghan's command in hand, that'll be Xaxes.
Wasteland going to take care of Underground Sea, but Alex is very quickly untapping and drawing. And he picked up a copy of Lightning Bolt as well, so here come the creatures. Ravitz is going to fall down to 2. And a Lightning Bolt will take care of it. So, Alex Bianchi is going to win game number 1 here over Josh Ravitz. Grits his control up a game over the lands in what is typically a very good matchup here for lands, but that's why they give you 3 games.
Painful Truths was really important there for Bianchi. It was looking like he was not going to have enough resources to work with to be able to play Young Pyromancer and do a bunch of stuff all in one turn to play over the top of the Punishing Fire, but drawing 3 cards was very valuable there, while neither player was really up to very much. Gave Bianchi the resources to work through Ravitz's land denial and Punishing Fire.
To the sideboards we are going to go, and we will start with Josh Ravitz. You have his lands deck list in front of you, but we see here on the screen we got a Karakas, a Molten Vortex, a Chalice of the Void, 2 Chokes, a Bojuka Bog, 4 Crossing Grips, 4 Sphere of Resistance, and a Thorn of Amethyst. Not surprising to see a lot of combo hate here, but also not surprising to see not a lot of hate for Grits' control, because the match was pretty good.
It is very good, but there are a couple cards here that Ravitz can bring in. I think the Molten Vortex is spectacular in this matchup. Very hard for Bianchi to play through that when he's all on Planeswalkers and fragile creatures. The 2 copies of Choke. I still think it's worth bringing in, even though you've seen a lot of basic lands out of Bianchi's list. It's hard for him to function without blue mana. I think the 1 Bojuka Bog maybe is good enough to bring in here. Bianchi does use a little bit of his graveyard. It's not good enough to crop rotate for in most spots, but it still might just be fine to bring in as a 1-of. And the 1 copy of Chalice could be fine here too.
For Bianchi's side, a lot of 2s and 1s here for Alex. 2 Pyroblast, a Hydroblast, a Flusterstorm, another copy of Cabal Therapy, a Vendilion Click, a Surgical Extraction, 2 Nile Spellbombs, and is a Staticaster. The big one there, 2 Blood Moons, a Sulfur Elemental, a Dak Faden, and a Notion Thief.
Yeah, two Blood Moons they're just awesome here, and this is one of the primary matchups to have Blood Moon in your sideboard for. The 1 copy of Surgical Extraction and the 1 copy of Vendilion Click are also reasonable ways to try to fight Loam. There are no guarantees of working. Ravitz can finagle it the way that he dredges and so forth to try to play around those 2 cards, but they're still very good. The 2 copies of Nile Spellbomb, also a fine response to Life from Loam.
Well, those are the options there for both players. Josh Ravitz will be on the play as they're getting ready to shuffle up for game number 2. But Patrick, I don't know about you, but yesterday, Black Friday,
yeah,
I got out there and I just beat up some kids and got what I needed. Now, you don't have to beat up anyone here at StarCityGames.com. Huge savings, 4 days only. Sale ends Monday at 11:59 a.m. Eastern. Get some goodies on sale.
It's a Black Friday sale without the ethical concerns of going to a physical store during Black Friday. You just go to the website, StarCityGames.com. A lot of sales going on, sealed product, graded cards, a lot of alpha, beta, unlimited stuff I saw up there the other day, some of the plate stuff, so stuff for Legacy, Vintage, or Commander deck, what have you. StarCityGames.com, only 4 days. Go to the website, check it out.
Fortunately, you don't have to kick any kids over to get a vegetable steamer, which is nice. I think that's a real benefit to the internet. So there you go. Black Friday, what a wonderful tradition. Am I right?
Yeah.
Everything that's right about the world in Black Friday.
Yep. Consumerism multiplied by violence. Yeah. It's all summed up on one day. 2 American traditions.
Beating people up for electronics you don't need. Well, it's wonderful. It's truly wonderful. Look, I really need that Surface Pro.
I mean, and there's also something to be said for, a culture that causes people to equate their self-worth with the possessions that they own. There's a lot of blame to go around.
There's true. That's just
it's
very
not
true.
as simple as look at these people being chaotic in a store.
Plus,
maybe the only opportunity for many of these people to actually afford some of these items, and it turns them into monsters. So
I think also some people just maybe like to give the beatdowns.
yeah, it's also the one day of the year where if you shove someone in a Best Buy, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to kick you out.
There's no punishment. It's like The Purge.
Right.
It's like the movie The Purge. For 24 hours, you can do whatever you want.
Have you ever been in a Best Buy and just wanted to shove someone? I have.
Yeah.
That's the one day of the year you can do that. So it's a lot of traditions. There's a lot of different cultural influences. But if you have ethical concerns about physical shopping on Black Friday, don't have to worry about that during the SCGNJ sale. People will be pulling the orders on Monday or whatever. Yeah. You don't have to worry about it. They got to spend Thanksgiving with their family. It's all good.
Mott's Diamond, Grove of the Burn Willows. Here's a life loan. Get back that Dark Depths, Will Josh. This is a little bit better of a start here for Ravitz.
Yes.
Now, one thing to obviously be concerned about is surgical extraction after sideboard. That's a real problem against this deck. And it looks like Alex does have a copy of it in his hand, so if he wants to snipe those loams, he certainly can.
I mean, he has extraction plus Nile spell bomb, so he's got it covered up and down.
The thing is, one of the nice things about lands now is that you can work towards different things because of crop rotation.
Yes.
So you're not all in on loam like the early versions in the mid-2000s were. You can work your way with crop rotation, Thespian Stage, and Dark Depths. And you see Ravitz's hand here with a Tranquil Thicket, a Dark Depths, an Exploration, and a crop rotation. Yes, this surgical extraction is annoying because his loams are gone, but he can still operate.
Exactly. If this was lands from, let's say, 5 years ago, this would almost be game over. Very, very little chance of Ravitz being able to play through this. But you see with crop rotation in hand and Dark Depths already in hand, there's a path here to just make a Merit Lage, and hopefully Bianchi can't answer it.
And it's not a particularly easy card for Grixis to answer.
No, it's not. That said, this is still very bad news for Ravitz. It was looking like he had a very explosive opening here. That's been ripped apart, and now he's got to try sort of the backup plan here to be able to win the game.
And for what it's worth, depending on how Josh draws and how he's sideboarded, the Punishing Fireblade, even though we didn't really get to see it in action in the last game, that's a way to beat these Grixis control decks too.
Yeah, if the game goes on long enough. Unfortunately, usually the game going on long enough is predicated on having loam to generate enough resources to do your thing. So that's going to be a tough road as well. I think the most likely scenario is Ravitz is just able to sneak Merit Lage on the table. Bianchi doesn't have an answer, and we go to game 3.
Now Spellbomb, the follow-up here for Bianchi. We head back Ravitz's way, picked up a copy of Thespian Stage.
Okay.
So now he doesn't even have to cast the spell. I suppose we could see maybe try to bait him with the spell, but here is Exploration. That's a Dark Depths. Here's the Stage. Of course, Dark Depths will join us with 10 counters. Not for Josh. You just say go, and then next turn you can make it 20-20. Sometimes Magic, a very simple game. No crop rotation necessary. And truth be told, all kidding aside, this is what's made lands into a really powerful deck. You know, its strategy of mana denial is very good against certain decks, but sometimes it has some real issues in closing the game. It'd have to close with things like Barbarian Ring, Nantuko Monastery, and other nonsense, but now you have the ability to close very quickly or just deal a game with no loans.
I played a match against lands in 2010 or 2011 where I just put Meddling Mage on loam, and that was pretty much the game. They just couldn't play through. And there's a lot of variations of Meddling Mage on loam that exist throughout Legacy. Now you're not shut off by that.
Yep.
You do have a route to win these games where people are attacking your loam, shutting out your graveyard, whatever else may be.
Ravitz will cycle a Tranquil Thicket, picks up a copy of Grove of the Burn Willows, another copy of Crop Rotation here for Josh. He'll play another Grove, and he'll just pass the turn back, threatening to make it 20-20. Now Spell Bomb here for Alex. He'll sacrifice that, pay the black to be able to draw a card. Picks up a copy of Young Pyromancer. Time for him to untap and draw. Force of Will to draw. And again, what kind of makes this land deck so powerful, it's able to actually do a nice job of sidestepping a card like Force of Will as well.
Yes. Loam comes back turn after turn. You can win the game through your lands. Those obviously can't be countered.
Stage is going to copy Dark Depths, which means a 20-20 is on the way.
And Ravitz is left over to 2 copies of Crop Rotation, so even if this fails, he can sort of brute force it. He can just go for this turn after turn.
Now, he does lose his Stage and he does lose his Depths. He does lose both of those lands when you do this. So we'll have to make sure that Stage is removed from the battlefield. But here's an attack for 20, and that's going to do it very simply, as Josh Ravitz is going to win game number 2 here against Alex Bianchi. Lands, Grixis control, getting ready here for game number 3. Sometimes with lands, it can just be that simple.
And Bianchi's hand was about as well set up as you can really ask for in the matchup. You have a turn 1 surgical extraction. You have a Nihil Spellbomb. Ravitz doesn't have Loam available for the rest of the game, and you have an answer to Punishing Fire if the game should go down that route, but no answer to a 2020.
You know, what's interesting about that particular game is, you know, you take a look at those opening hands. Both players are going to keep those opening hands every single time. It's not even close. Ravitz has got Loam on turn 1 with Mox Diamond. Going to get back Dark Depths, get his engine online. He's also got a Tranquil Thicket to protect against Surgical or Nihil Spellbomb. For Alex, he has Surgical on turn 1 for Loam. He's got Nihil Spellbomb to kind of check the graveyard. And it looks like he had a Young Pyromancer, some things going on there. Both players are going to keep, and then Ravitz just says, well, I'll just draw a Thespian Sage. We'll take care of this game pretty simply.
And as you mentioned, that's such a powerful dimension that Lands has now that a couple years ago it did not. And I think it's been a big reason for an uptick in its popularity and its success in tournaments over the last couple of years is you're no longer Loam or bust. You do not have to play the deck that way anymore. You saw that Ravitz lost his Loam on the first turn and won on turn number 3.
Well, as these players shuffle up for game number 3, we're talking Fall Creature Collection now here with Star City Games. We got playmats, we got sleeves, and we have bundles of some of your game night favorites.
Yeah, the Hippo, the Otter, the Reindeer, the pin which we have on our lapels this weekend, and Penguillian Click, all available, again, playmat, sleeves, and player bundles over at StarCityGames.com/creature collection, or you can head over to our dealer booth at any of the Opens we're at or any Grand Prix we're at.
Now, you're clearly firing all cylinders here this morning because typically for Penguillian Click, you have to take a pause and think. That was, whew,
All right.
that was a thing of beauty.
Landed in JFK yesterday. Took New Jersey public transportation down to my parents' house. Had pizza last night. Came here, woke up this morning, cup of coffee, Kaiser roll. Went to the only game in town last night. This is my yellow sun. I mean, I am firing on all cylinders right now.
Kaiser roll, that's the big one. The Kaiser roll brought it all together. The coffee, that's normal, but when he's back at home, okay, well, where's the pizza from? Do we go to like a local favorite pizza joint?
No, they're all good.
Okay.
They're none in particular.
Okay. Both players going to take a look at the opener here. Looks like they're happy. We're underway here in game number 3. Bianchi, your Grand Prix Pittsburgh champion from last weekend, will search up a basic island with this Blue to Delta.
What you saw in game 2 is also a reason that Lance has become a lot more popular and a lot more successful. The deck just doesn't get as many draws.
Yeah.
But before, I mean, this deck was so ponderous. You had to win with things like Mistress Factory or recurring Barbarian Rings or things in that space. And now you can win the game, as you saw, on turn 3, 5-minute games. And Lance just pick up a lot fewer draws than they used to.
It's a real benefit to the deck.
Yeah.
Because as someone who played lands in 2009, 2010, having to slog through their nonsense with Nantuko Monastery, truly embarrassing. A lot of work there. Ponder's done resolving here for Bianchi. We're heading Ravitz's way. We'll see how explosive his start is. Looks like he has at least 1 copy of Exploration, potentially 2. He's going to start by playing a Misty Rainforest. He'll sacrifice that. We'll see what land Josh wants to search up.
Yeah, 4 copies of Exploration, 1 copy of Mana Bonds as the accelerators on turn 1. Only 1 copy of Mana Bonds because the card isn't that powerful unless you already have Loam. Exploration works even if you're lacking Loam.
Yeah, that was actually one of the big changes with the deck before, and this was many years ago. This was a 4 Mana Bond, 4 Exploration deck.
Yeah.
And you were really just a Life Loam deck. The deck didn't even really play crop rotation. We saw variants with Intuition from some players and Smokestack and some really unique things with Academy Ruins. But now, I think the deck has really evolved in a way where it doesn't have to be a Mana Bond deck anymore. Though here is Mana Bond. Force of Will take care of that.
And you see the leftovers in Ravitz's hand here, just lands and Exploration. So he's pretty happy with this Force of Will. Was not counting on this Mana Bonds getting onto the table for his hand to be functional.
Looks like a Brainstorm here on the upkeep for Alex. He'll draw 3. Have to put 2 back. Couple copies of Young Pyromancer have been found here. Some Lightning Bolt and Nihil Spellbomb hanging out as well.
And for all the sideboard that Bianchi has to fight the graveyard, to fight Loam specifically, he is very vulnerable to Merit Leech. He does not have a lot in his sideboard to answer this. His answers, cards like Jason the Mind Sculptor, Innocent Blood, they're all sorcery speed. So if Ravitz can finagle things at the end of Bianchi's turn, those measures don't do anything.
Well, 2 cards will be going back here for Alex in just a moment. And we'll finish up with his turn. So we'll see what he's up to. It looks like that wasn't his main phase, by the way. There's Volcanic Island. Now we'll simply pass the turn back. Ravitz will draw. Picked up a gamble. Not a bad draw at all. And he might start there, but he'll start with an exploration. You saw Alex quickly Force of Will Mana Bond, but exploration is N. Thespian Sage is land number 1 here for Josh. Grove of the Burn Willows is land number 2. He'll give Alex a life since he's such a nice guy. And now here's another exploration, which means Josh gets to play another land.
Well, it is significant to make sure that Bianchi's life total from Ravitz's side does not go above 20.
Agreed.
Because once he goes to 21 or above, one hit from Merit Lage is not lethal. And then Bianchi can answer the token at sorcery speed. Things like Innocent Blood, Jace, they all work. So the 1 point doesn't matter because Bianchi's now at 19, but Ravitz will be loath to put him above 20, assuming that Merit Lage is the plan.
Blood Moon the draw here for Alex. What a huge draw that is. That's going to come down. You can see Josh's hand right now. He's got Gamble and he's got Dark Depths. So you can see what the plan was. And now that's shut off.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say we're done here, but we might be pretty close.
Well, Mox Diamond's a pretty big draw there.
Mox Diamond's a huge draw. That means Ravitz, if he has Crozan Grip in his deck, has the hope of getting out from under this.
Yep.
But this is still, this Mox Diamond's a good start, but if he doesn't have Crozan Grip in his deck, this is still not really a path towards anything.
And you can see exactly what Josh was setting up. Had such a great setup that they didn't have to cast Loam this game or anything. Just make another 20-20, just like we saw in game number 2. Now he's going to have to get a little bit creative. He'll start with a gamble. Curious to see what he wants to gamble for. He'll go with Life from the Loam, okay.
You don't actually have to reveal to gamble.
What a guy.
But
it's clear enough.
Whatever.
Yep.
It's fine. Doesn't.
One of the things to note here from Josh, been playing Miracles for a very long time. Unclear if he's ever played lands before. Don't have to reveal to gamble, as you did mention.
Yeah.
It is a hidden secret. What are we discarding? Oof.
That's a stinger.
Yep. That's the one you wanted to keep. It is curious there, if you're Josh, he has the ability to play Mox there, discarding the Dark Depths, and then gamble for Loam.
Yep.
So I'm curious about the sequencing there, why he would want to do it the other way, the way that he did do things. Here's Young Pyromancer. Now we'll head back Ravitz's way. Wasteland the draw. But that's just the mountain right now because of Blood Moon. He'll play that past the turn back. Now, for what it's worth, Loam is a backdoor way to get out of this simply because, well, in a way it is. Like, he can dredge Riftstone Portal.
Sure.
But, again, like, he's not able to make a 20-20 or anything like that, and it's unclear if he has Crozan Grip in his deck or not. And the pressure is on now. One thing about Young Pyromancer, it does a great job of closing games out pretty quickly if it goes uncontested.
Yeah, and Bianchi's deck is probably just, it's mostly spells. I mean, he's going to be adding to his clock over the next couple turns.
Exploration the draw. Ravitz will play Dark Depths past the turn back. Lightning Bolt's going to go upstairs. That'll bring another token along with it. Here comes Bianchi again for 4. There's another copy of Young Pyromancer, and Ravitz looks to be facing lethal next turn.
Yep, that adds 2.
Yeah, he'll draw a Life from the Home. That's going to do it. Alex Bianchi is going to win this match over Josh Ravitz 2-1. Grixis control with a bit of an upset here, taking down lands, but that shows you some of the power of the sideboard cards in Legacy. Blood Moon, we've seen it be lights out in Modern, and it's lights out in this matchup against lands, too.
And not surprising to see a deck like Grixis Control, which is a deck that's normally kind of vulnerable to Blood Moon. It plays mostly, and sometimes entirely, non-basic lands.